From Kern Government Television, welcome to this week's Kern County Board of Supervisors meeting. Originating from the County Administrative Center, located at 1115 Truxton Avenue in Bakersfield, California. Grounded in ideas, energy, and innovation, Kern County's vision is to be a driving force for the world's fifth largest economy. And our mission is to exceed expectations of the communities we serve, changing the way they feel about government, those who manage it, and the services it provides. Today's Kern County Board of Supervisors meeting will convene momentarily.
Okay, board to reconvene. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Supervisor Peters.
Here.
Supervisor Scribner.
Here.
Supervisor Flores.
Here.
Supervisor Couch.
Here.
Supervisor Perez.
Okay, good afternoon and welcome to the Tuesday, September 26 p.m. session of the Kern County Board of Supervisors. We'll first hear a report from County Counsel Margot Raison for any actions taken in closed session.
Good afternoon. This morning in closed session, you met on items 52 through 55, and there is no reportable action.
Thank you, Ms. Raison. Okay, at this time, we'll be considering the consent agenda. Agendas are located at the back of the room for anyone wishing to follow along. All items listed with a CA above the item number are considered to be routine and non-controversial by county staff. Consent items will be considered first and may be approved by one motion. If a member of the audience wishes to comment or ask questions regarding an item on the consent agenda, they may do so prior to a vote being taken. A member of the board may remove any item from the consent agenda and it will be considered in its listed sequence with an opportunity for any member of the public to address the board concerning the item before action is taken. At this time, I will read the consent agenda items. On page 2, item 3. On page 3, item 4 and 5. On page 4, item 6 has been pulled off consent and will be heard in its listed sequence, so staff can make a clarification. On page 5, items 7 through 12. On page 6, items 13 through 15. On page 7, items 16 through 22. On page 8, items 23 through 31. On page 9, items 32 through 40. On page 10, items 41 through 46. On page 11, items 48 through 53. On page 12, items 54 through 61. And on page 13, items 62 and 63. Is there any member of the public that would like to comment on any of the items on the consent agenda? Now is the time. Please come forward. Welcome. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. My name is Gordon Knipp. I am the vice chair of the local Sierra Club chapter. I would like to comment on items 3, 4, and 5 on the consent agenda. For each of these items, the county is improperly using CEQA guidelines section 15183 to let these projects get by without appropriate requirements to mitigate their cumulative impacts, something of a standard pattern and practice in the county. Section 15183 says that, and I'm going to read this, quote, projects which are consistent with the development density established by existing zoning, community plan, or general plan policies for which an EIR was certified shall not require additional environmental review. In these 3 projects, the county is relying on old and outdated general plans and EIRs that are insufficient to address many critical issues that have arisen since these old plans were adopted. Section 15183 has some important limitations that the county is ignoring. Let me read from section 15183J. This section is, quote, this section does not affect any requirement to analyze potentially significant off-site or cumulative impacts if those impacts were not adequately discussed in the prior EIR. Neither the Metropolitan Bakersfield General Plan, EIR, nor the Kern County General Plan, EIR, has any discussion whatsoever of climate change or greenhouse gas emissions, an inherently significant cumulative impact. Nor do the EIRs contain any mitigation measures that are meant to address climate change. Certainly no such mitigation measures have been required of these 3 projects. The county must analyze and mitigate climate change for these projects. One of the proposed findings that you're being asked to approve today falsely states, and again here I'm going to quote and read from the finding, there is no new information of substantial importance that was not known or could not have been known at the time the Metropolitan Bakersfield General Plan Final Environmental Impact Report was certified, and no new significant effects as a result of the requested actions will occur that were not addressed in the Metropolitan Bakersfield General Plan Final Environmental Impact Report. The same finding with the Kern County General Plan FEIR inserted. This is simply not true. There is much new information on climate change. We've presented evidence in our letters, and we send in a number of letters, and I just presented another a subsequent addendum to those letters as well. We presented much evidence in our letters that global warming, the climate crisis, has a more severe adverse impact than anyone ever thought about when those old plans and EIRs were written. For example, the United Nations IPCC AR6 synthesis report includes warnings that the world is approaching irreversible levels of global warming, global heating, with catastrophic impacts rapidly becoming inevitable, and that it is now or never to take drastic action to avoid disaster. This is substantial and critically important new information which was not known at the time the old plans and EIRs were certified. A couple of points. The county must analyze and mitigate climate change and other important cumulative impacts of these projects. Section 15.183 is not applicable. Secondly, the county must complete an effective update to their general plan and EIR, including a climate action plan, ideally, so as not to be improperly relying on old and out-of-date general plans to streamline approvals. One other thing, I noticed that one of these projects is being continued until October. I think was it number 4? 4. Yeah, being continued to October. And when I looked at the staff report, they said the justification for that was that the Planning Commission hadn't approved it. But I don't understand. The Planning Commission approved that project on September 14. So thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Knipp. Next speaker, please. And this is for to comment on the consent agenda. Okay, seeing none, I'll bring it back to the board for comments and action.
Mr. Chairman, did you say item 6 has been removed from the consent calendar?
Correct.
Okay. So you need a motion on the consent calendar?
Yes.
With the exception of item 6?
Correct.
Or do you want to make a statement regarding item 6? Sure.
Ms. Oviatt.
Thank you. Lorelei Oviatt, Kern County Planning and Natural Resources Director. In response to items 3, 4, and 5, item 4 is continued because even though the Planning Commission met, we are required to renotice this hearing to show what the Planning Commission's recommendation is, and we did not have time to do that. Item 3 is M1PD, and therefore it is a minor consistency change, and we do believe that this exemption applies. Item number 5, we provided an addendum to your board and to the public with our response to these comments. Lastly, I'd like to note 2 things. 1, the Metropolitan Bakersfield General Plan was never litigated. It is a valid general plan EIR. Its age is not, CEQA guidelines do not put an age on such documents. And so therefore it is valid and can be validly used. We have provided a record. In the record, we provided you with the staff report of our responses. Lastly, a climate action plan is not required by law in a general plan. The general plan update, these are general comments. These are not specific to each individual project before your board. We certainly hear these general comments and this general request that we update the general plan, but CEQA is site-specific. These are 3 site-specific projects, and we did not find any evidence in the record of site-specific environmental comments that have been provided to us. And we recommend the recommendations that are in the agenda for the consent agenda on 3, 4, 5, and the rest of the agenda, with the exception of 6, which we would like to make a brief clarification on.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Oviatt.
So I'll move approval of the consent calendar with the exception of item 6.
Okay, we have a motion.
Second.
Motion second. Please cast your vote.
The motion is approved, 4 ayes, 1 absent. Supervisor Perez.
Okay, it brings us to item number 1, public presentations. This portion of the meeting is reserved for persons to address the board on any matter not on this agenda, but under the jurisdiction of the board. Board members may respond briefly to statements made or questions posed. They may ask a question for clarification, make a referral to staff for factual information, or request staff to report back to the board at a later meeting. Also, the board may take action to direct staff to place a matter of business on a future agenda. Speakers are limited to 2 minutes. Please state and spell your name before making your presentation. Thank you. First speaker, come on up.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I'm Eddie Lane from Sierra Club, L-A-I-N-E. I'm passing out copies of a September 13 letter to Kern County General Services reviewing information obtained through California Public Records Act request. To my knowledge, this information was provided by General Services to this board without this information being reviewed or attached. And this was before we had Mr. Zervis as the CAO. The two questions in this letter: one, in light of the issues raised, is Kern County continuing to pursue an application at this particular location? And two, was $150,000 deposited on the property being promoted? We were told at the Parks Commission meeting last week that these issues will be handled by the EIR. Well, the EIR does not include the following issues. One is that Pozo Creek be avoided, and that's not an EIR issue. Second, BLM holds mineral rights on 480 acres and Chevron on 307 acres. That was not told to this board. There's a cloud on the title. That was not told to this board. PG&E has several overhead lines on this property. That was not told to this board. And there were 7 potential sites reviewed by the biological firm, none of which are being considered by the property being promoted by General Services at this time. So I have questions on the second page here. The following species, I listed them here, were found on the property prior to the application being submitted, and yet in the application it indicated that there was no endangered species or special species there. So how can you find the finding, but say in the application that it's not there? Also, the valley fever issue is very serious. We need to have had soil testing performed before the application was submitted. Finally, there was a finding that there are operating oil wells on that property. So the cumulative impact of these issues were such that the Sierra Club is recommending that the application be withdrawn. Thank you for your consideration.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Lane. Next speaker, please.
Good afternoon, Supervisor Flores, members of the Board of Supervisors, Mr. Zervis. My name is Lori Pesante, and I spell that Pesante. I speak in my personal capacity today because I sent an email to all 5 of you and to Mr. Zervis this morning requesting to meet with each of you. And thank you to Mr. Thomas for responding to me with some information to get me started. We received over the summer some documentation from the city of Bakersfield related to our Pesante property. And this property has been in the Pesante family for 5 generations. My children are the 5th generation of Pesantes to be raised in and around that property. It has profound meaning to us. And unfortunately, we lost my father-in-law in August. And so I am reaching out to you because I would like to start a process of gathering information about what the plans are for this part of town, how it fits into the broader scope of Kern County's future, because the legacy of the Pesante family is everything. It is everything. So if you could please respond to those emails and set up meetings with me and or my mother-in-law and my husband, I would be very grateful. A Calendly link is listed there, so all you have to do is click on it, and it sends you a Zoom link automatically, or I can come to your office or go anywhere. It gives you that option, and it can just get set up automatically at a time of your convenience. There's also an email address there so that you can respond to me directly if you prefer a different time than one of the ones that are offered. I offer a wide range of opportunities. To give you a sense of the legacy I'm describing, my father-in-law retired from the county road crew. He laid asphalt here in Kern County under the hot sun his whole life, and so did his father. My mother-in-law also retired from the county as well. So I would appreciate the respect that you can show to them and to our family's legacy by meeting with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pesante, and my condolences for your loss, and thank you for highlighting the invitation. I've not seen it yet, but I'll make sure that I respond.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Sure. Okay, next speaker, please. Okay. Seeing none, we will move. Ms. Oviatt.
I would like to respond to the OHV comment from Mr. Lane.
Sure.
So we appreciate these comments that the Sierra Club has been submitting. However, there is apparently either a misunderstanding of the process or a willful ignoring the process. The OHV Park application to the state was for selection of a site for a due diligence. It still requires a conditional use permit and environmental impact report that will be objectively done by the planning department, not the general services department, brought through the appropriate planning commission, and then, if necessary, appealed to the board, or perhaps brought directly to the board for your consideration. Pozo Creek is an EIR issue. BLM Minerals is on the checklist to look at. Overhead lines from PG&E, every single issue that has been raised. It is inappropriate for your board to look at environmental information outside an EIR. You would be predetermining conclusions that were not comprehensively analyzed. No agency has looked at them. It appears the Sierra Club wants a de facto, their own kind of EIR process. We intend to go through the one that the state of California has adopted, and all of the information that has been requested will be analyzed with a full opportunity. There is a due diligence of, I may be wrong about this, 14 months, which means we have 14 months to go through the process of an environmental impact report. We certainly have been taking those letters seriously. I have not received the application yet for the conditional use permit, but as soon as we do, Mr. Craig Murphy, the assistant director, will be in charge of that, and we will make sure that all of the questions that are being asked, part of the avoidance of Pozo Creek, part of these questions are, what is the design of this park? What is the design and where are the vendors? And so that is something that General Services must provide to us. If there are changes that need to be made because of environmental, the planning department will recommend those. So I wanted to clarify for everyone's benefit that no one is ignoring these letters. It is not, they are premature.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Oviatt, for that clarification. Mr. Zervis.
Chairman Flores, I want to take the opportunity to respond to Ms. Pasante's request. I do have her email, Ms. Pasante. I'm glad Mr. Brown got back to you from our office with some information, and we'll be reaching out shortly to schedule those meetings with her and try to address her concerns and her questions regarding her family's property.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Zervis. Appreciate that. Okay. Okay, moving on. We're moving to item 2, board member announcements and reports. Don't see any. Okay. It brings us to item number 6. This is a request of Cal Center LLC by Daniel Rudnick to change the various permitted land uses to industrial and authorize the development of a 4 million square foot logistic warehouse facility with on-site water and sewage treatment plants and other associated ancillary uses on 6 parcels totaling 255 acres located at 26190 7th Standard Road in Buttonwillow. Ms. Oviatt.
I will defer to your board if you request a full presentation on this item. My clarification has been provided to you in an addendum. We had a comment at the Planning Commission, a request that we be clear about how long they have to activate this permit. Activation means that they comply with the conditions and they actually move forward with a grading permit, building permit, and others, and it's 3 years. We have 2 different kinds of applications here that we are recommending approval on, a precise development plan as well as conditional use permit, to make sure that both of those are have the 3 years. We provided clarification language to you in this addendum, and we have a minor change to the recommendation. The recommendation now is to adopt Section 15091 Findings of Fact and Section 15093 Statement of Overriding Considerations, adopt resolution, recommended findings, and approve amendment to the land use element of the Cal Center specific plan. Adopt resolution, recommended findings, and enact ordinance approving zone change. Adopt resolution, recommending findings, and approve conditional use permits subject to recommended revised conditions. Adopt resolution, recommended findings, and approve precise development plan subject to recommended conditions. That completes my presentation, and I'm open to your board requesting more information. Thank you.
Sure. Well, sure. Before I move to public comment, anything? Okay, so at this time, I'll open public comment on item number 6. Please come forward.
Hello, Board. My name is Daniel Paula. My family farms on the west side of the property and on the other side of I-5. I just want to bring a few concerns, and I do thank the Planning Commission for putting the 3-year limitation on it so we can decide how we're going to move around these possible new buildings. As you know, it mentions in their plan that the water situation is in a good situation out there with Semi-Tropic, proving that they will have adequate water. And as you know, we've been deemed inadequate by the State Water Resource Control Board. It's prime farmland. I do want to preserve farmland. But I want to bring you to my main concern is that I didn't realize until recently as I read it, that they're expecting 7,373 trips per day going by that location. And I personally feel, as a non-traffic expert, that the on-ramps on 7 Standard and Button Willow Drive are already, in my opinion, not the safest and something that we consider dangerous. And then to see that much more traffic go through there, I don't think those intersections will be able to handle that much traffic. I would like, if we could, currently the experts, Caltrans has not given any comments on this location, whether the traffic plan will or will not work. And I would like to see if there's a possibility that we can rehear this topic and wait to hear back from Caltrans about the traffic issues.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Paulo.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, next speaker, please.
Can we put the overhead on so they can see the picture of this?
Good afternoon. My name is Gustavo Aguirre with Center on Race, Poverty, and Environment. And I'm not a lawyer, so I will not speak on legal terms. Just found about this one, but we have several concerns. In the late 80s, 90s, 2000s, we had, a storm of dairies coming here to the valley, and a lot of pollution, without much regulations to dairies. Fortunately, that slowed down, and I think that's happening. The same thing is happening with distribution centers and industrial parks, and we are very concerned about that. And we don't think it's enough to require them the minimal requirements. I think there are some, kind of best practices. Recology is a compost company that my organization and residents negotiated a community benefit agreement with them. They are providing they committed to reduce pollution, which they are doing. They committed to provide community funding for community projects, and they are paying county extra fees for their operation to keep their conditional use permit. So we believe there are ways for these kind of projects to do better with the communities, make bigger contributions to that. So we're asking, the board to consider, not stay with the minimum requirements, but, if they are coming, what they are going to contribute to our community. And I think because otherwise we will have some situations there is, coming with minimum requirements. And, we already have a lot of pollution, as mentioned. The other piece is, they are situated on the 7 Standard, and 7 Standards, 4 lines, and a little bit after wonderful industrial park, and between the I-5 and wonderful industrial park, much of it is just 2 lines. So how that is going to affect the traffic, local traffic. Residents of Chapter are very concerned about wonderful, about the new industrial park proposed just across the street of Wonderful, which is on the city of Bakersfield, but is going to affect traffic and pollution and all of that. So please consider that and review that, those effects, what you can do to reduce pollution and traffic and all its implications, and how can this kind of projects or industries can do better for the communities. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Aguirre. Next speaker, please.
Good afternoon, Chairman, Supervisors. My name is Brian Holt. I'm Business Manager, Financial Secretary of IBEW Local 428. I also chair the Kern County Apprenticeship and Training Trust. So on behalf of the nearly 1,200 hardworking families, Kern County residents that we represent, we stand in strong support of this project. This is a good project, not only for its economic benefits, but the training opportunities for Kern County's youth. The developer is already committed to local hire. So again, stand in strong support. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Holt. Next speaker, please.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, supervisors, and staff. My name is Josh Taylor, and I am the president of Carpenters Local 743, and today I'm representing the more than 1,000 skilled union carpenters who live and work in Kern County. Today I'm here to speak in strong support of Agenda Item 6. I want to inform you why this is important to the carpenters and the carpenters that I represent and to the local community. The proposed land use amendment opens the door for well-paying jobs, wages, and benefits for the residents of Kern County. The 300 construction jobs tied to the proposed project would help in getting local folks access to apprenticeship programs where they can learn trade skills to make them more employable. This developer is committed to utilizing contractors who employ and train apprentices and pay area standard wages and benefits. And one of the county's biggest challenges right now is homelessness within the region, and a great way to combat homelessness is by creating jobs. The proposed project would create hundreds of construction jobs, not including the thousands of permanent jobs created after construction is complete. The nearby communities of residents surrounding the proposed projects are some of the more economically disadvantaged groups within the county. So a project like this can create real positive change for those community members. In other words, this project will create community wealth, and I therefore ask the board to vote in favor of staff's recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Next speaker, please.
Good afternoon. My name is William Mestis, and I'm here on behalf of United Association Plumbers and Steam-Fitters with about 800 active members. We express our support for this project. We are excited about this project because it will provide good paying jobs, hire local residents, and use responsible contractors. Projects such as this one is an asset to Kern County as a whole, and we are proud to support this project. We strongly urge that you support it as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mestis. Next speaker, please.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, supervisors, staff. My name is Daniel Rudnick, R-U-D-N-I-C-K, and I'm the landowner and proponent of the project. And I've got a few points I'd like to mention.
Sure.
So thank you very much for allowing us to move this project forward. And the project before you this afternoon is a very thoughtfully designed Interstate 5 oriented warehouse and logistics park that would be consistent with the goals of the Kern County General Plan and the previously adopted Cal Center specific plan. The project, if approved by your board, would help advance the county's economic development goals, expanding its job base, attracting logistics and manufacturing operators, and continuing the diversification of the county's energy portfolio. The project is expected to generate millions of dollars in annual property tax revenues and billions over its lifetime in increased economic output for Kern County. Our estimation is 300 full-time construction jobs will be created during the build-out of the project, and the project itself will create and sustain as many as 2,000 permanent jobs in Kern County. Our plan and our estimate conservatively is to use 89% less groundwater than the current agricultural operation has historically done over the last 25 or 30 years. It's been studied extensively. We supplied a water supply assessment. Staff has gone through that. The Semi-Tropic Water Storage District has looked at this and found that it is absolutely consistent with the groundwater sustainability plan in the district. Also, this will be one of the greenest and most sustainable warehouse projects ever approved in California. The way it's been designed, the way it's been conditioned by Ms. Oviatt and her staff is exceptional, and we're very proud to be moving this project forward with the design that we have. But perhaps one of the most important things, and that the gentleman from CRPE mentioned, was, what other community benefits are coming besides the typical jobs and millions of tax revenue and these sort of things. Well, the project has agreed to make an annual payment of $300,000 in perpetuity directly to the Kern County Fire Department for the training, equipping, and staffing of a full-time paramedic unit for the community of Buttonwillow. Not only will the neighbors, the residents, the operators, the future operators and employees be well taken care of by this particular thing, but this has been on the county's list for a long time, and we're glad to be able to provide a long-term funding source for such an essential and necessary public service in this particular area of the county. Anybody that's lived in the county a while knows that we've worked really hard to find a good fit, a good commercial industrial fit for this particular site. And we've been looking to the future, and we believe, and we graciously request your vote this afternoon to approve what really is going to be an important and exciting project for this county. And working closely with Ms. Oviatt and her excellent staff in the planning department, with all our creative and experienced engineers and consultants, we really think we found what we've been looking for this particular location. And we're very excited and very proud, our family is, and our team, to present this for approval this afternoon. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Rudnick. Okay, next speaker, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Julian Parsons. I farm the property just to the south of the parcel in question, and I also have property to the north on Raleigh Road, just across the freeway. My concerns are with the impact that it's going to have to my daily farming operations, as far as spraying, transporting equipment, harvest time, having guys moving around. I'm going to have my employees and tractors and other various equipment moving around that piece of, or those two pieces of road, both Buttonwillow and 7th Standard, quite frequently. So I do worry about the impact both to the safety of my workers, and then as far as being able to go about my normal farming operations, both with cultural practices and spray applications and stuff like that. So yeah, that's my concern. Thank you, guys.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Parsons. Okay, next speaker, please. Okay, seeing none, I'll bring it back to the board. Actually, before we go to the board, Ms. Oviatt.
Chairman Flores, members of the board, I'd like to address some of these comments that have been raised. First, on page 5 of your original staff report is a breakdown of traffic. In reality, only 1,191 of those trips are trucks. The rest of them are passenger vehicles, 6,180 a day. Obviously, these are the shift changes for the, part of those are shift changes for the logistics centers, part of those are commercial. This project has been approved in its original form since 1988. So Caltrans and KernCog has taken into account on that interchange and on I-5 that there will be industrial and commercial usage there. The traffic study that was looked at for the addendum that's been provided to you clearly shows that those traffic volumes are actually under what was predicted by KernCog for that interchange and for that area through 2042. We therefore do not believe that there was any reason for Caltrans to comment. They were contacted when the original traffic study was prepared by the project proponents. And once again, in the KernCog model, which is the model for the county, This area was already designated as industrial, and so there were already industrial trips. There are 15 mitigation measures that require full improvement of the roads surrounding that area to provide for all of this transportation to full type A, including sidewalks, curb and gutter. And so therefore, there will be full improvements to ensure that the traffic is mitigated. The second thing I'd like to address is the representation that we are putting minimum requirements on our logistics. We actually are putting more requirements on our logistics than anybody in California. We require they mitigate their air down to the equivalent of 0 with a developer mitigation agreement with the San Joaquin Air District, which will provide millions of dollars of grants, which the Center on Race and others can apply for to clean up their communities. In addition, we are using the Attorney General's best practices that they have provided for logistics centers. There has not been one logistics center that your board has considered that has not had these best practices from the Attorney General. Everything from electric forklifts to actually building the EV chargers in the parking lots. So we do not believe that we are the minimum. In fact, we believe the rest of California should use our conditions and mitigate their air down to 0 in the other 7 counties of the San Joaquin Air Basin. As far as community benefit agreements, they are not required by either your board or this or our zoning ordinance. And we believe that those benefits come from developers being part of the community. In addition, the property tax revenues that go to the general fund provide for the services that we need. I'd lastly like to just slightly clarify that the applicant did not agree to provide the $300,000. It is a required condition of approval of the project. We appreciate that they have agreed to all of the conditions, but it was a requirement of the project, and therefore they cannot withdraw it at any time. Those are my comments. Once again, if there's any part of this project that you would like a fuller presentation on, I am prepared. The addendum has our revised recommendation.
Thank you, Ms. Ovia. And just for clarification on the $300,000 annual contribution, is that for as long as it's in existence?
Yes.
And then secondly, we also address, there are some concerns about adjacent farming operations and impacts. What will this project do? Can't they farm as usual? Or?
They can, but this project has been industrial since 1988 and had the right to build. Once they build, they will have to comply with the pesticide requirements of the Ag Commissioner. But since 1988, they've known that at some point this project would build.
Okay, thank you. All right. Looking to my board for any final comments and action.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. Supervisor Couch.
Thank you. Appreciate you guys being here today and raising those issues, which are legitimate and legitimate concerns. Appreciate your comments, Director Oviatt. And Daniel, you guys went back to the drawing board and you came up with something that is, in my view, is less intense than what you had proposed before, where you definitely were going to have some, at least on occasion, higher conflicts, I would say, between farming operations and whatever operations you were going to have at the location. Several years ago, I think you had proposed a concert venue or of some type here. So it's because of all the comments that Ms. Oviatt just gave us that I would make a motion to approve staff's recommendation and just ask that you would continue to be a good neighbor to the farming operations. I know that they have a lot of requirements and probably even more so coming down the road that may or may not impact your project, but I know you'll do that, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Couch. Supervisor Peters.
Thank you. I would just like to go on the record and say that I would like to still see a concert venue there myself. But no, I just wanted to say thank you. I'm looking forward to seeing what comes of this. I'm sure you guys are going to be good neighbors out there, but I will go ahead and second Supervisor Couch.
Okay, we have a motion second. Members, please cast your vote.
Motion is approved, 4 ayes, 1 absent. Supervisor Perez.
Okay. Thank you. That brings us to item number 47 under General Services Division. This is an item to identify the apparent low and responsible bid and approve contract number 1650-7020.22 with S&B Sons, Inc. for Casa Loma Park improvements. And Mr. Zervis, will you take this first, or should I give it to Mr. Hill?
Chairman Flores, I'm going to be turning it over to our General Services Officer, Jeffrey Hill, to make the presentation. This item was presented to your board this morning. This is the same presentation, but this time it's actually on your agenda for action. This is the second major investments in parks that your board has awarded for this budget year, and this is improvements at Casa Loma Park following successful ribbon cutting and work that's underway at Bell Terrace Park currently. And this builds on your board's commitment to investing in our community, in our park space, with an unprecedented $49 million of parks projects going on countywide this budget year. This is part of $10 million taking place in District 5 specifically. And we're really excited to see this project moving forward. These projects take some time to get to this point where we're actually awarding contracts and moving dirt and getting the work done. There's a tremendous amount of community involvement and legwork done by our staff with community organizations to get to this point. So we're excited to move this forward, and I'd like to turn it over to our Chief General Services Officer to present this project to you and to the public. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chairman Flores and members of the board. Jeffrey Hill, Chief General Services Officer. The item before you is the request to identify the apparent low and responsible bid for the contract with S&B Sons for the Casa Loma Park Improvement Project. GS has conducted or has been part of numerous meetings at Casa Loma Park, and it's been the discussion many times before this board as well as the Parks and Recreation Commission. This project scope and the other projects recently completed and in progress are the result of that robust public interaction. I would like to thank Supervisor Perez for her leadership and Parks and Recreation Commissioner Osby for the pressure regarding the improvements at Casa Loma Park. This project is again more proof that the county not only says that parks are a priority, but demonstrates it with investment. This also demonstrates the county's commitment to make good on our promises to the community. Other previous and current projects include full solar walking path lighting, new LED ball field lighting. Those two elements were $454,000. Replacement of a baseball field with a soccer field estimated to be at $80,000. That project is out to bid right now, along with the most recent restroom repairs to keep the restroom up and functioning until this project is complete. These previous and current projects have an investment of $1.5 million in this park in the past year and a half. Slide 1 in this visual you can see is the project that includes the ADA accessible parking and walking path connecting the new improvements to other amenities, a new CXT restroom, new play equipment for ages 2 to 5, and ages 5 to 12. The next slide shows the elevations and plans of a new fully ADA compliant restroom. This restroom is the standard we've been installing recently and in the past at Hart Park Trailhead, the Lake Maine Campground, Mount Mesa in Kern River Valley, and Petroglyph Park in Ridgecrest. It's a hardened structure made entirely of concrete and makes the most and includes most of the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing utilities and a hardened chase accessible only to the staff. This final slide shows the new play areas with ADA safety surfacing and shade canopies above. The contractor has approximately 6 months to complete this project, but these days there are always possibilities to delay due to material availability and utility connections. I'd also like to take this opportunity to inform the board and the public that there is in place an Adopt a Park program. We're happy to work meaningfully with community groups to help keep this great park in great shape. Opportunities include cleanup teams. GS can help to provide materials for those efforts. Eyes and ears reporting, among other tasks. The Adopt a Park Handbook is available at the County Parks webpage off of the General Services webpage. Therefore, it is recommended that your board identify the apparent low responsive and responsible bid, approve the contract, authorize the Chief General Services Officer or designee to sign, and authorize GS to release all other bid guarantees. That's the end of my prepared comments. I'm available for any questions you may have.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hill. At this time, I'll open this item to any public comment. Now's the time to come speak. You want to speak? No, okay, sorry, I thought I saw a hand. Okay, seeing none, I'll bring it back to the board for action.
Move approval.
Okay.
Second.
Motion and second, please cast your vote.
The motion is approved, 4 ayes, 1 absent. Supervisor Perez.
Thank you. Okay. This brings us to adjournment. No more items to consider. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn to October 10th, 9 a.m.
So moved.
Okay, we're adjourned. Thank you.